Why are North Koreans not revolting against Kim? How would you organize that? How would you recruit more people to your cause in a place where even whispers of disloyalty to your flag means death for you and everyone you know? Great question. Primarily, it is because the regime uses fear and severe punishment. The Kims realized what many other dictators realized long ago: you only need to keep a small proportion of people happy and loyal, and they'll do the work of keeping the others in check. So the intelligence services and military personnel are always fed and given preferential access to resources. The rank-and-file soldier less so than the officers, but it's still a better life in the army than on average outside it. Then there's the snitch culture. A great example of this to look over is East Germany and the Stasi archives. Everyone was snitching on their neighbors largely to try and keep themselves out of the spotlight, and because a Stasi agent undercover could approach you about overthrowing the regime, and you failing to report that is enough to see you in serious trouble. Phone calls and mail were monitored, ears were everywhere. Same in North Korea, you can rebel if you are prevented from organizing a rebellion. It's also why freedom of speech is so vital, and you should never let anyone impinge on yours, even for things you agree with in the moment. Always ask yourself, why is it so important to you that I can't say something? Yeah, I'd have to grow up in a world where someone could teach you that revolution is even an option. Why don't X revolt protest against X for X injustice? Just expanding on the original question to ask why everyone in justice don't fight against said injustice, even when they have popular support. Why do we put up with things we know are disapproved or by a large part of our population and no screw us over? Not a one-answer question, but I personally think fear and lack of hope is a significant factor. People will tolerate more and become more apathetic towards issues if they think that they or any movement can't do anything about it and fear that trying might get them held legally accountable. One step out of line, and they get 3 generations of their family sent to a concentration camp. Yeah, I wonder why they don't revolt. They are under very strict control. They are not even free to travel within their own country. They will be executed even just for watching a Western movie. There's a great story on something similar in the all-Soviet Union. After the death of Stalin and Khrushchev came to power, there was a general assembly of all the Soviet bigwigs. Khrushchev started talking about his policy of de-Stalinization and trying to get the Soviet Union to be a better place. Someone in the audience probably somewhat sarcastically asked, "Where were you when Stalin was around?" Furious, Khrushchev screamed and demanded to know who the hell said that. When no one piped up, he continued in a much calmer fashion, "And that is where I was." Not sure if this is apocryphal or not, but it does seem to reflect the situation. Why are we not revolting about the fact rich people own all media we are fed with every day? Why are we not revolting about the face that we all work for small wages? Hard to revolt when you're starved. Hard to revolt when there's no solid communications. Hard to revolt when the big food provider is the government. Because the first person to step up in such situations usually get shot. In fact, maybe the first 1,000 people to step up get shot. Yeah, you outnumber them, but they outgun you by a lot, and some number of you are definitely going to die. Because you just literally can't. That's why people risk their lives to escape the country. The same reason we keep working for corrupt governments who fund wars we don't support. Redditors on their way to ask why people don't just rise up. Machine guns can make people chill their shit. I've seen interview of a professor who visited North Korea multiple times, and he doesn't talk about politics with Koreans, but he does ask them about daily life, and he says that in 2018, last time he visited, their life was not as bad as media presence. There are even some people who escape to South Korea, make money, and return to North Korea. Life isn't great, but it is tolerable. If they try to revolt, there are very high chances that life will become intolerable. If someone sat there and said, "If you revolt against me, I will kill, imprison you, and then imprison your family, your mother, your daughter, granddaughter, father, brother, for several generations until all of your blood relatives live the rest of their lives as slaves," what would you do? Would you revolt, or would you attempt to live the most of your life doing what you can to make sure your family is safe? Most likely because it's not as bad as you are told it is. Maybe not great, but not revolution-worthy in their estimation. People like to say because big evil oppression, people resisted the fucking Nazis. There has never been an oppressive dictatorship on the planet that hasn't experienced unrest, including the brutal fascist dictatorship that was instituted in the South post-WW2 into a country that at the time had the exact same culture. This is not an adequate explanation unless the Kims are consistently giga-brained genius dictators without compare. The only adequate explanation, quite frankly, is that the people don't want to rebel. Why USA is not revolting against Biden-Trump stupidity? They have guns and internet and everything. Cause they think they already live in perfect world and have democracy. So do Koreans. Brainwashing works everywhere. It would be near impossible to organize on a large enough scale with the heavily restricted monitored communications options in the country. And anything on a smaller scale would be brutally shut down by the military, to make an example. They are kept hungry with no access to weapons. The place is full of people who would grass you up in a heartbeat for the chance to rise the party ranks. You'd struggle to communicate and coordinate outside of very careful word of mouth, and even that could get you in 3 generations of your family locked up and tortured. There's no incentive for outside help either, because of the flood of refugees that would unleash in the region and the power vacuum it would create in a nuclear-armed state. The South would have to be the ones to fill that vacuum, and that would be a war for hearts and minds against a population that's been told that the South wants them dead. No resources, no communication, no support. Edit, 3 generations, not 5. Based on other comments here. Same reason it doesn't happen in the States.